like to welcome everybody to another edition of the Major Music Lounge podcast. It's your boy D Dot coming at you with Heartless Garvey, who's an artist based out of Dallas, Texas. Been knowing this brother for quite some time, and just been seeing him doing a lot of work probably over the last year or two. And we connected. We connected though into music, man. Probably a lot longer, way before that. So we're gonna kind of get into some of the things that he's been doing. But what's been good, my brother? How you doing?
Yeah, man. You said it best. Like, we connected, and it's crazy because back then, and I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on the show. By the way, this is I like what you're doing. I'm watching what you're doing, and like, damn, he always got content, always coming out clean. So, definitely like what you're doing, man. But yeah, when I mess with you with the music, I wasn't even like serious about music. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't, it was more of just, I was so magnetized towards music that I always would do it even when, as a hobby. You see what I'm saying? Like it would be like, if I had a little bit of free time, we might, cipher up, we might freestyle, we might mess with it. We might be looking up who was the hottest new song out, what is the next hip hop controversy. So I think I've always been magnetized towards music in different genres too. Like I've been like trying to explore like reggae and classical music and blues, jazz, Motown. I've been real heavy with Motown lately. So it's crazy, man. So I feel like my mom even said, she told me, she's like, you've always loved music. You've always been an artist. I'm like, damn, I didn't even think about that of myself. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy when a loved one tells you like, this is something you should be doing, period. So that's really what happened, man. But I'm glad we linked up, and I'm glad that I could have able to kind of watch you from a distance, because you've been kind of an inspiration for me to get going. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate that, man.
Why would I, when I look at other people, especially people that I know that stay grinding, that's something that I admire. So I try to aspire to be on that level. So
appreciate that, man. Yeah, and it's kind of like we were talking a little bit before the show. It's also amazing to see your personal growth, because I remember like, you recorded some songs with me back then, and you were kind of starting to get the gears turning at that point. But like what I've seen over the last probably year or two, I would say probably since the pandemic first started, you've been kind of grinding a lot, between doing a lot of shows, doing a lot of projects. I watched some of your stuff on YouTube as well, creating content that way. So, I've seen pretty much like, it's almost like a light went off at some point, where you really saw, because I know a lot of artists that create music, but they're not as engaged on social platforms. They don't come out with any content on YouTube. They barely even perform. I don't perform as much now that I used to back then. But as far as like projects and creating content like this, I'm pretty much, that's what I've kind of turned more of my focus to as of right now. Let's kind of rewind, to you just being inspired to be an artist. Who were some of your inspirations as far as becoming a rap artist? And, how were you influenced? Because we're pretty much about the same age, I believe.
Right.
And grew up in that 90s era of hip hop, and then seeing the 2000s, the 2010s, with currently in the 2020s. So who are some of your inspirations as far as becoming an artist?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. For me, it's simple. It's a 3-word question, man. 3-word answer. It's Biggie, Nas, and Pac, man. Straight up. Because that's like, those are the people that dominated my rotation. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, like you said, we lived in the golden era. So we saw like, from acts that are totally not gangster, from like Ludacris's all the way to like Bone Thugs and Harmony to, I can't even go through it. T.I., God, so many people that we saw from the 90s to the early 2000s. I would say, yeah, it's like the golden era of hip hop. But for me, something about Biggie Smalls, the way his cadence, the way he had like almost like he was almost unorthodox. Like he wasn't trapped by a tempo. Like he could almost make a tempo himself, like a melody or a jazz melodic style on the tempo. And then Tupac, for me, is resonating even more lately. But I would listen to even his posthumous albums, and then after he's dead, like they keep dropping albums. Like the man is dead, and they keep dropping albums. But his lyrics were so good at resonating with me that we can almost, because now that I'm getting into poetry today, and more recently, I could even look at him as a poet, because when you look at his lyrics and you take the music out, they still stand strong, like almost like poetry, the way he writes. So that's one thing big with Tupac. And then I feel like Nas is almost like the sweet spot in between both of them. Like he's somebody that can give you the character, give you the raspy voice, give you what you need, talk about Queensbridge, give you that hood, you know, almost like a lyrical photographer, and paint on a canvas and show you exactly what he's going through. But at the same time, he still had that poetic Tupac type feel as well, where he could do it. And so that's why I would say those three people.
Definitely. Yeah, I would totally agree. Some of my influences as well, you know, at least between all three of them, I would say like Illmatic is one of my favorite albums of all time. Ready to Die is another one of my favorite albums of all time. And then I go back and forth with All Eyes on Me and then Me Against the World. Those are two of my favorite Tupac albums. Even Machiavelli was hard when you really think about Pac. But I would say at least three of those that I've just mentioned would at least be in my top 10, definitely in my top 20 albums of all time. Right. So definitely something that influenced me as an artist. Now, switching back to like, you know, kind of talking about you as an artist, when did you actually start writing music? Because was it around the time when we first started kind of chopping it up, or was it way before that?
I was just more like a freestyle guy. You know what I'm saying? So like for the majority of my life, I was like a freestyle guy where we at a party or something, and it's more just like, hey Nelson, can you rap? Rap to this, rap to this. Like it would be like that, or we battle rapping. But yeah, around your time, that was probably one of the first songs I've ever written. This is a song that I did with you. And then when it's like learning bars, learning schematics, I still didn't even understand 16 bars back then. So yeah, over that period of time, it's been somewhat of an evolution. You know, I really would call it that. I would call it an evolution, because it was like, you know, one of my favorite quotes of, you know, I'm big into philosophy and psychology and stuff. One of my favorite philosophical quotes or adage is that to be able to learn, you must be willing to injure your own self-esteem, because that means you're going to learn something new, meaning that you have to burn and kill this old thing that you thought was true, but you really didn't even take the time to go learn it. And they say that's why children are such great learners, because they're not so caught up in their own self-importance. Like everything to them is more of an adventure. Why? You know, you've been around a little 2-year-old, 3-year-old. Why this? Why daddy? Why? You know, they ask why so much. So it's like a curiosity. And that's what happened with me with songwriting. Now I can write for any genre outside of heavy metal and folk music. I can write country songs. I can write R&B songs. I'm writing poetry now. So yeah, the songwriting evolution started right around when I was with you. But what's crazy is that it would still be like a 6-month period go by or 3-month period go by where I didn't write nothing. You see what I'm saying? So when that light switched on, it was really, I want to say like maybe like 3 months prior to the pandemic, something like that, roughly. Okay. And that's when I was like, I'm writing every day. I'm waking up writing. I'm saying I'm gonna have a project. I'm saying, you know what, I want to start performing. So it was a gradual process. And yeah, man, it took definitely a lot of personal growth in me. Just, does this sound good? Does this not? cut that. No, throw this away. Keep that. And it was like I'd almost write like fragments. I try to describe it to my friends, like, how do you make this song so good? Like it looks like puzzle pieces like in the air. Like I'm trying to fit the piece, but when it don't fit, something like that. So I was like, I basically went through that almost like an intuitive learning of how to make something sound like a cohesive story, keep with the theme of the hook or whatever the theme or the ethos of the song is, but also be able to be witty, not corny, and then still be able to get your message out. So yeah, it started roughly around when I was with you, but I would definitely say I would take sabbaticals. I would be gone. I'd be out for like 3 to 6 months at a time, not writing nothing. But since the beginning of the pandemic, it's been nonstop. Like I have stuff that I've been writing last night, every
Man,
day. So
it's kind of funny that you talked about freestyling is kind of how you started. I think really, I remember I met you at a party one night, and I think you were freestyling there at that party. And then we
yeah,
got to talking about music. We exchanged numbers at that point, came and that's when you did the song. I think you might have did 2 songs at the old spot I was at.
I
And
think I still have them.
yeah, I was listening to it the other day, man. Pretty
Yeah.
dope. Yeah, man. But it's I mean, kind of like I said before the show, it's real cool to see you grow from then till now. And how has going, because I also see you at a lot of local like acts as far as local shows and open mic nights and just a lot of performances over the last maybe a year or two. How has that also helped you grow your brand and network as an artist?
Man, yeah, that has been integral. Like that's been basically where I'm able to learn a lot from other performers that are established. I see people that have followings, even, 3,000, 10,000 followers. To me, I mean, to other people may not sound like a lot of followers and stuff, but like you said, I'm learning social media right now. I'm like an infant baby when it comes to learning social media. So, you know, I look up to someone who cultivated 3,000 followers out of nothing. I look up to someone who cultivated 10,000 followers out of nothing. I see the professionalism of how they walk enter in the venue. So it's been kind of a two-pronged benefit to answer your question. One, networking, I'm getting followers every time I do a show. I'll get like maybe 5 to 10 followers every show because they're like, who are you? What's your name? If I have my little t-shirts, they want to read off their Instagram off the t-shirt or whatever. And then also networking with artists and producers. There's a couple artists that I still have yet to get in the studio with, but I'm excited to because I felt that their skill level and the talent of what they're doing was so dope. And that's one thing I said, in my little video documentary we talked about is the Dallas music scene is doper than people realize. The Dallas music scene has artists out, man, I'm talking about all kinds of genres, all kinds of different sounds where you'd be like, that's not Dallas. You don't even know where it's from because it sounds so versatile and stuff like that. So I think that there should hopefully be, and maybe me and you could be part of it, like the avant-garde leaders of bringing Dallas music scene back on deck because there's not a major music record label out here pushing nobody. There's not a major A&R, major promoters or anything really doing it. So it's us on the internet making it happen, basically. And so I would like to see a network. I would like to see some kind of synergy between like us, like R&B artists, rappers, producers, promoters. And so that's one thing I've been seeing. So it's basically me learning by example. For the first part of your question, how is it helping me to be out on these shows? And the second is networking, and then even setting up. I have studio dates where we're setting up to work with some of these artists who I think are, far advanced, more veteran than I am. So
Yeah, and I can relate from the standpoint of we used to do a lot of the events more so. I would say probably about 5 to 10 years ago. And it allowed me to grow a lot of my network into what it is right now. And when I see you, man, I remember I saw you at one spot. You, you were, y'all were outside. I think it was you and your brother. And y'all had a speaker and a mic, and you were putting on the
Yeah.
show. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah, I'll put this
not only that, I mean, you go to a lot of other prominent venues. You pull up to those venues, and you meet people as well. So, I mean, you kind of really created your own pathway in that regard. Because I mean, you can go from a building full of people to just with a speaker, you know, in front of I think you were what
like
maybe at
street
a
performer.
street
Like,
performer.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like a CBD store.
yeah.
My buddy, he owns a CBD store, and he was like trying to do promotion to hype up, you know, either some grand openings and products and things of that nature. And he actually had us out there. They served food, and we had the
That's
music
cool.
popping, and we actually had quite a few people show. More people than I thought showed up, and we had girls out here twerking and stuff. So it was like, so that actually was one of the more. That was the first time we ever did anything. Me and my brother never even practiced together. We recorded songs together, but we never even practiced. Like, and we got such good reviews from a couple girls that they've been like almost like our number one fans and the first fans, and they show up to almost every event and support almost
Wow.
everything we do. So that is crazy because I've had a few of those type of fans where it's like they're my friends, but they're also fans, and they're also like very consistent, always liking all my posts, always showing up, always like hyping me up, always telling other people about me. So I'll go meet somebody that they know, and it's like my name has preceded myself. They're like, "Oh, I already done heard all your songs." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, they played all my songs." I'm like, "Damn, I might as well be paying you to be doing all this." Like, so they that hype on my music where they like really plugging me at all times. So it's pretty dope, man. But that
Man,
came from that CD store performance.
man, keep it up, man. Keep it up, man. I like a lot of what you're doing, and you know, even the content that you're coming out with. You're really documenting a lot of this stuff along the way. Because you know, I saw that because of the video. So if people not there, you're putting it on your socials. And I saw something the other day. You know, it made me while you were speaking. It made me think of this. I saw and credit to DJ Payne for posting this. DJ Payne, who works with Beat Stars, but he
Okay.
posted something along the lines of every day, every time you post, whether it's once a day, you encourage to post because that's another opportunity for you to get discovered, whether you produce as whether you an artist, a producer, a content creator, whatever it is you do. And I see a lot of guys, kind of like I was saying earlier, that they don't they create music, but they don't post any of their music. And then they drop an album, they post about the album, and not everybody's interested because they haven't really created that pathway to people being interested in what they're doing. And I think, you know, by you continually to go out and do shows like you were mentioning at the CBD place and a lot of your open mics and continue to produce content that people can stay engaged with, that's something that's going to continue to help you grow your brand over time.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like really the goal. You know, that's one of the main things I've been really enjoying is like figuring things out. Like it's okay to make mistakes because it's one of my biggest weaknesses. I would definitely say for any artist or any business person, period, because I've been in the fiduciary world for like 15 years before I really just jumped headfirst in music. So it sounded real crazy, but I would say anyone, even in the like with the regular business acumen or music, is understanding that you're not just a musician, you are a business. You are a business. So every day that you do something, like you said, if you post every day, you're making sure that your doors of your business are open. You're making sure that there's not cardboard posted up on people thinking you close and they thinking that it's not working or whatever. And then I'm okay with making mistakes. Like one of my biggest weaknesses intellectually when it comes to like self-assessing myself is I'm a perfectionist. Well, that's not good because perfection is basically a moving target. So perfection can become procrastination. And then, you know, it can kill creativity altogether. So as a creative mind, as somebody who has, you know, these ideas, like I almost can understand like how crazy Kanye sounds sometimes when he talks. Cause I'm like, damn, I can't, it's such a stream of consciousness what he's saying, but I can see that he has so much that he try to get out that it's like it's a struggle for him to even it becomes inarticulate. He becomes someone who can't really even express it so well because it's like, damn, I just want to do this. And who gives a damn if it ain't perfect? But that's actually the right attitude. It's like, start moving in the direction that you want to move, and then keep adjusting your plan as you learn. So I'm okay with bumping my head, man. I've been bumping my head so many hundreds of times now that it's like a no is good for me. If I get a no, I'm like, okay, I'm just one step closer to a yes. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna assess myself and learn, why did I get that no? What can I do? So yeah, for me, I have no problem with just being out here, going to networking events, and somebody gotta be like, hey man, no, don't do that. Don't ever do that again. Do this, grab the mic, do it this way, or come here and show up here and talk to this DJ and send this airdrop or do this email, be sure at this time. I'm good with that. I'm good with learning everyone else's different processes, because for me, that's just gonna make me better. It's gonna give me more context, more experience. And that's the definition of being sophisticated. Sophisticated man is someone who can travel. You can go to different venues, different events. It could be poetry, it could be music, it could be spoken word only, it could be a different country. You know, it doesn't matter, but you're able to master your environment. And so that's what I'm really willing to do, is like, man, I'm willing to learn, bump my head, make mistakes, get no's, whatever, and then constantly fight my inner temptation to be a perfectionist. You know, and so that's one thing that I've really been working on, especially with the content, is like, how can I make this look professional? How can I make this look just as good as XXL or Def Jam or these mainstream artists like the Baby coming out with a music video every day? You know, somebody like coming out with music every week and it's like polished and looks great. So that's one thing I've been trying to do. And we actually did a little documentary type thing. I don't know if you guys
I saw some of that.
Yeah, and so that was like, we're trying to figure out film and editing and things of that nature. So I've been struggling and, man, slaving over, like, basically, I call it YouTube University. Getting on YouTube, trying to learn how do I do Adobe Premiere Pro? How do I run this program? And so you're investing in paying for it, learning how to edit, learning how to do this, but I'm just adding skills, because it's like, I wish I could just go jump in the booth every day and that's it. And I have a whole team of people to do the work for me, but that would never be a sustainable model as far as someone who wants to create a record label, create a platform for myself, and then help other artists. Because that's one of my biggest things, is I would love to see younger artists, especially much younger kids and things of that nature, to encourage them to express themselves, whether it be music, poetry, doesn't matter what the genre of music, or even an intellectual endeavor, because I'm really big into learning in libraries and things of that nature. So we're having a library program that we're trying to do for kids. And we're actually thinking about doing a children's album where little kids can talk about things like bullying or self-confidence or going to school, or just normal little, wholesome topics where their music can actually have a wholesome message. It don't have to always be some street, some stuff like that. You can talk about real life stuff like depression or love, or, things that everybody can relate to. Someone who works a corporate 9-to-5 can relate just as much as someone who's, a trash man picking up trash on the street. You know what I'm saying? So everybody can relate. And that's what I think is beautiful about music as well. So
yeah. Got to get the younger generation involved, especially now a lot of this technology is accessible to pretty much everybody. Anything from a PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, you can create music a lot of different ways. So got to continue to get the generations involved. What's on deck for you as far as the rest of 2022? I know we're just starting, we're just in February, but what kind of plans do you have going forward for the rest of the year?
That's a great question, man. That actually, I'll answer that question like with the Socratic method, right? The Socratic method is where you ask a question and it tells you what it is. But I have a question that we always ask, that I'll ask people to try to get them thinking, which is, if your life was a book, what is the name of your chapter that you're in right now, right? And so when you're like, where are you at? What's next for 2022? For me, my chapter will be called visualization, conceptualization, actualization. And I'm in the actualization phase right now where I'm like really realizing it and making things materialize. So we're at the point, man, we got 2 albums coming out. It's gonna be my project and then my brother's project. And then our first paid digital marketing campaign where you're gonna see like sponsored ads, trying to actually accumulate followers and things of that nature. So we've really been this past couple of years, we've really been just getting nice, learning like the basics of making songs sound professional, mixing, mastering, of that nature, and then learning how to get the quality of the content to a certain level where it's worth paying to put out there. And that's kind of what we've been trying to do. So one of my favorite interviews is an interview with Biggie Smalls, The Locks, which was like Jadakiss, Sheek, Luch, and everybody like that, and Mace. And they admitted that they were all together in the lab for about 5 years before they ever came out. Like they admitted, like we were just getting nice. That's what Jada, you know, how Jada talks, he's like, yeah, man, we out here, we just, you know, getting nice out here, you know, and that's how he was like literally saying we had to get to a certain level of quality of music before we even released it because we wanted to make sure people knew this is what it is. I mean, you see Denzel on playing Frank Lucas on American Gangster. This is Blue Magic. Blue Magic. Don't ever touch my product. Don't cut my product. Don't do nothing when my customers get it. They know they're getting Blue Magic, the best ever. And that's how we feel about our brand. We want to make it to where it's Blue Magic, baby. Like it's always going to come out. It's going to have some substance. It's going to have a message. It's going to have some great musical production, you know, the sonically pleasing, but then hopefully aesthetically pleasing visuals to go along with the audio. And so that's really where we're at right now. But yeah, this year, you should be seeing a lot more film, a lot more. We're going to be finally doing our first music videos. So music videos is like, we're very excited about that because we grew up watching 106 and Park and watching, MTV Jams and BET Uncut. And I've never been in a music video. Okay. So it's going to be exciting to have music videos to put with our songs because that's going to, I think that really, you know, that's instrumental for people these days. It's more of a microwave society. They're going to want to be able to have music videos to your songs. Yeah. So putting those things together, more documentary style filming as well. And a lot of lovely ladies. We have a lot of women that have been lining up. We've been editing, you know, or auditing, I guess, or what do you call it? Auditioning. So like in our, you know, I noticed that it's nice to have beautiful women around, especially if they're artists as well. So they're multifaceted. It's not just a pretty face. It's an intelligent mind. It's a, you know, some of these women, when I'm talking to a really gorgeous woman, I notice that people want to just kind of categorize them as just a pretty face. But when you're having a real deep conversation, they're very intelligent. After a while, the genders go out the window. It's just two brains talking to each other, having a dope, deep conversation. And that's kind of what I want to bring to the screen as well, is where it's like, yeah, gorgeous women that can be in the music video, we can act, we can do some things, maybe even work out some skits and things of that nature. But I also want to show their skills and their abilities. They're great at poetry, or they're great at singing R&B, or they're beautiful. They're really good at lyricism. You know, actual MCs that are awesome, that are dope. So that should be the biggest thing for 2022. Is not just saying just me and my bro. Going to see a lot more cinematic representation and a lot more of our vision and our ideas coming to life. So
yeah. More content. One of the big things, man, like, you know, kind of speaking on a lot of the guys from our generation, and another thing I really commend you on, and, you know, I feel like right now there's a movement going with a lot of guys that are like 35 and older that are creating music right now. I feel like the younger cats still have their own lane, but a lot of the guys that I was speaking about are starting to come at the forefront of making music, creating content, and continuing to build brands. And the fact that you know, really started out the last 2 years, you know, it's something I think that definitely should not be overlooked, man. So, you know, continue to do what you do, man. And you know, not only having you on the show, but we got to connect on some music and a lot of projects going forward. I, you know, appreciate you coming through for sure, man. And where can a lot of our viewers find your work and find a lot of your content?
Okay, so it's gonna be Heartless Garvey on every platform. So, it's just spelled. Basically, my name is a play on the word, play on the name Marcus Garvey. He's one of my favorite, and people, for the younger generation who may not know who he is, he's the guy who basically predates Martin Luther King and he predates Malcolm X. He was the blueprint. He was the guy. You know what I'm saying? So it's a very intelligent Black orator who was able to speak, and that's where my name comes from. So it's Heartless Garvey. So I'll spell it out: HeartLess, and then Garvey, Garvey. That's on every platform. And then we also have another platform called Thera Music, which is basically therapy music, but it's spelled with a Z. So it's Thera, THERAMUZIC. And we have a Thera Music podcast and a music service. So on one side, the podcast is where the mission statement is exploring heuristics to raise the psychological resiliency of the next generation. So basically just exploring learning tools that, like books and films and art and psychological things and philosophy, or, it doesn't matter what it may be, but things that we believe that could raise the psychology of young people. So we're trying to do that. And then the Thera Music project, the music service, is basically where people tell us traumatic things that they've gone through. It could be a trauma or, parents' divorce or abuse or just an unfortunate situation. And we customize write songs for them to hopefully give them a cathartic experience and give them a, basically like somewhat of a psychological relief, to exercise some of those demons. And because music can really be healing. So that's a two-sided thing. So if you just look up Thera Music, it'll pop up real quick on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube as well. But my name is Heartless Garvey on every platform.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And one last question I like to always ask any artist, producer, creator that comes on the show is, if you can give any word of advice to someone who's up and coming, as far as maybe being a poet, maybe being a rapper, a producer, any type of creator, what would that good word be?
Man, I would actually go to a biblical verse, man. Honestly, it's a biblical verse, it's 2 Timothy. I got to pull up the actual verse, but I know that it's, our Father, right, the Most High, has not given us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power, peace, and a sound mind. So that in itself is what I believe would help a lot of people as far as the procrastination aspect of it, is you get caught up in that creativity and then you want it to be perfect, or you're afraid, or you're waiting, and you're waiting. Well, when I have this, I'll start it. When I have this, I'll go. We're not given fear. Fear is not a natural thing biologically that we're supposed to be reacting or making decisions from. Fear and anger are probably the two worst causal motivators to make a decision from, right? So if you have a spirit of power, that by itself is a crazy, that just those 3 words, spirit of power, that's hard to comprehend, because that means your entire being, like every fiber of you, is powerful. That's wild. So if you walk around with a spirit of power, imagine the level of confidence, imagine the level of manifestation and things that you're able to do. And then peace and a sound mind. Well, you can't have fear and have peace and a sound mind working. Like it can't be both happening. So, for any new artist, anybody out here who's, thinking about it, who loves music, who loves poetry, who loves R&B or hip hop, or producing, or even the film and editing, I'm seeing that that's an art. Photography is an art. Painting, it doesn't matter. If you're in love with this thing and you know that you would do it for free, why would you not want to be interested in possibly finding a way to monetize that? And it's very, very difficult. It's a volatile thing to do, but it's a volatile thing to start any business. I've been a tax preparer for over 5 years. Like I said, I was in the fiduciary field, and the U.S. government expects you to take a loss up to 5 years from beginning anything. So you're expected to fail for 5 years before you have success. And success is a relative subject anyway. Success to some people is just you getting a little bit closer to your goal. That's success. not the actual ending journey of what you're doing. So my thing to any new artist is don't let fear get to you, man, because you weren't supposed to have fear. You weren't even supposed to operate from that modality at all. Operate from that power, that peace, and that sound mind, because by you doing that, you're going to be spreading that same vibration to other people. And that's my main thing is like, I believe that music can heal people. I believe music can change your entire physiology, your entire mood. I've been studying right now the music and the mind, how different frequencies affect you. And so it's very big. So any new artists out there, don't let hesitation, don't let procrastination stop you. Just go for it, man. Just don't operate in fear. Operate in what you want to happen. Don't focus on what you don't want to happen, because that's what will manifest. Focus on what you want. So I never really operate from, I hope, I don't want this, or I hope this doesn't happen. I usually operate from, this is what I set my mind to get, and I'm like visualizing it, and I'm so high, I'm almost grateful for it before it even happens. And that's it's a weird feeling because it kind of doesn't make sense. But again, peace that's beyond understanding. When it does happen, you're not surprised because you've already been living it in your mind for so long. And then gratitude creates a cycle of more things to be grateful for happening. So that's a beautiful cycle of being. When you just really in a feeling of gratitude, it's already a W feeling because you're already feeling like that's the brain chemicals that come from that: dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. These brain chemicals are rewarding a reward system that's just natural. You don't got to smoke no weed, you don't got to do nothing, and you feel amazing just by feeling gratitude, because gratitude is it sparks neurological chemicals in your mind that only happen when someone gives you something, or something is great, something positive has already happened. So your mind is already in a mindset of positivity just because you're grateful. Then more grateful things keep happening, keep occurring. So that's a beautiful cycle to be in. And I would tell every new artist, try to get like that, man.
Yeah, man. Can't give up. Can't let that negativity creep in. There's been like a lot of people I know, not just in music, but different avenues of life. You mentioned the film, video. Yeah, I know people that had restaurants, a lot of things like that, just entrepreneurs, and things maybe didn't go right off the bat. Some of them, they ended up giving up. Some of them stuck it through the hard times and end up seeing better days after that. And, you can't give up after your first no or your second no. You also can't, allow yourself to even hang around people that are bring more negativity into the circle or into what you're doing, because I think being around people that offer you positive vibes and have a similar mindset as you will help you grow even further. So yeah, man, definitely some great words, man. And yeah, you can as far as all the listeners, you can catch this episode and other episodes of the Major Music Lounge podcast on YouTube and all podcast streaming platforms. You can follow me as well on Instagram at d._major music and Twitter at d.mme. If you're an artist, producer, if you're a music production app developer, sound designer, create YouTube content or anything like that, please reach out to me. Definitely would love to have you on the show. This has been another edition of the Major Music Lounge podcast, and we are out.